Zootopia 2 has come home to Disney Plus.
Let's go!
Get ready for a new case.
We're gonna crack this case and prove we're the greatest partners of all time!
New friends.
You are... Gary the Snake. And your last name? The Snake.
Dream team.
And new habitats.
Zootopia has a secret reptile population.
You can watch the record-breaking phenomenon at home.
You're clearly working it.
Zootopia 2, now available on Disney Plus, rated PG.
REI has ultralight backpacking gear. So for you gram counters and ounce shavers, we made this ad ultralight with a base weight of just 13 seconds. The next 17 seconds, pure trail. Find more with less in-store and at rei.com.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Dr. Psych Mom Show. Today, I'm going to talk about, are you a producer or a consumer? This is my new framework for how to think about at least one aspect of your relationship in a different way. That could be an epiphany for some people as to some roots of their incompatibility or their frustration or their irritation with their partner. Before that, I must tell you to subscribe. My most recent subscriber episode was, do you want privacy or are you an addict? So, pretty straightforward. I mean, people say they want privacy, and I don't really see, that being what the person says it is, except, of course, in the alternate situation where your partner is super up your butt about everything, massively controlling, and you really do just want privacy. So I talk about either the one where you're doing something bad or the one where you just want a sense of self in a completely toxic, controlling dynamic. And there are 222, something like that, more subscriber episodes if you just subscribe. So thank you for considering. All right, so what do I call a producer versus a consumer, and how does this relate to compatibility? So in your free time, which of course, if you're somebody listening to this, you probably don't have a lot of free time because you're married, you have kids, you have a career, what have you, busy person. But when you do have free time or leisure time, what do you like to do? Do you like to produce? Do you like to make something? Do you like to write? Do you like to make music? Do you like to work on your side hustle? Do you like to build something? Do you like to repair something? Do you like to craft? Any of this stuff, that would be a producer, right? Now, if you are a consumer, you like to watch TV, listen to music, maybe attend a concert, something like that. You like to consume something that somebody else has produced. Pretty straightforward. Everybody does both, usually. I mean, not everybody produces, I guess, but every producer will consume. Everybody will listen to the radio, watch TV, go see a movie, go see a play. Most people will do something like that. But in terms of what really gets you going, what's really exciting and fun, what's your most fun thing to do? Is it consuming or is it producing? And now there's plenty of things that are neither. So hanging out with your spouse, taking a walk, exercise, sex, eating, cuddling with your partner or with your kid or with your dog. A lot of life activities are neither one, right? I mean, obviously eating is consuming, but that's kind of not how I mean it here. So there's life activities and there's relationship activities. But when you are on your own with leisure time, what sort of, how do you relax? What really is your hobby? Do you like to cook? Do you like to create food that other people will eat? Or honestly, could you not care less and you would rather just DoorDash it and, use that time for something else? And is that something else, something like scrolling on your phone, watching TV? It can be there's no pejorative connotation. So you could be going to the opera, you could be reading like super intellectual books and journals. I mean, this is not anything about intelligence or capacity. This is about whether you want to create a widget, you want to make something, or do you want, when you are trying to entertain yourself and have fun, do you want to consume something that's already been created? And so this, again, there's no value judgment here. if you are a producer, you may be very type A and irritating. And if you're a consumer, you may be super relaxed and chill, and you may be the primary parent, who's preferred, to hang out with because you're just so relaxed and easygoing. So it's not like I'm saying a producer is better and a consumer is worse, even though in our culture, the idea of consumerism kind of gets like a bad rap, like you're materialistic or something. That's not how I mean it. But if you like to create and you are partnered with somebody who likes to consume, then you may get frustrated. And they may get frustrated with you for exactly the reason I said. They may think that you're super type A, you can never relax. You're always going and doing these projects, creating things, reading about the thing that you're going to build in the backyard. You're like making a shed. If you're creating a new craft that you're going to give out at your kid's school. Like you're never just relaxed. You're always making something, doing something, creating, producing. And the producer may get annoyed with you. He may or she may think that you are very, boring and you just sit around. Even if you're somewhere else at a concert or at a fair or whatever it is, it doesn't have to be that you're physically lazy. You may be very physically active, but you do not have that creative mindset. Now, it doesn't have to be creative like artistic. It's just creating something, right? And so the most compatible marriages, are between people who are similar. And I've said that before, that there really is no kind of long-term opposites attract sort of thing that makes you feel more known, obviously, although when it's two parents who are opposite on a variable, then that may be great for the kids. So the producer goes and is building a shed, and then the mom is inside watching TV, or the mom is writing in her office and the dad is hanging out watching the game. And so that would be good for the kids versus both people being the same way, right? In theory. But in terms of feeling known or understood, or in terms of, really just having a basic friendship with somebody who's similar to you, which is a core part of a happy marriage, two producers really enjoy building a business. Frequently, that's what they do. That's what they produce. They produce the business. And they, have a lot of shared projects. They like to get up early. They like to get shit done. Or maybe they don't like to get up early, but they get shit done the rest of the day and stay up late. Whatever it is, they're working on stuff together. And two consumers also are having fun together. They are looking at what live music they're going to see, or they have a whole list of what they want to watch on Netflix next, or they like to read the same books, or whatever the case may be. And it really is easier to be with somebody who's more similar to you on any variable. Now, this doesn't mean that you can't obviously be with somebody who's different. You can't just create the ideal human being from a slime mold or something. So maybe somebody's perfect, but they're different on this dimension. Well, then in that case, you have to engage with them with compassion, acceptance, and focusing on the positives, which is not really hard in this case. So when it's an unhappy marriage, you start to think badly about the opposite kind of personality on this dimension. But when it's a happy marriage, then the consumer, that's like the fun person who likes to do things that other people like to do, and go, for example, watch the game or go to a concert or what have you. And that's great. And that is really useful in terms of having fun and fitting in and knowing what's going on in the world and engaging with other human beings and knowing cultural references and all of that. And the producer, many consumer type of people find a producer spouse to be very admirable. Like, wow, they get all that creative energy. I've heard both genders say that, she's always coming up with stuff. I come home, she got 7 things that she made, and, for the kids or for this or for that. And this is just outside of the, the norm of, the regular. So the producer, they produce in every domain. If they're going to make cookies, they're going to make awesome cookies. If they're going to, redo their kid's room, they're going to create an awesome room. And they may have a whole career, like a writer or like a builder or like a designer or a contractor, whatever. They really like to make stuff happen. And that's really admirable for a lot of people who just don't have that impulse. And it's cool when you see that one of your children is more like one or the other, to say, oh, this kid is a producer or consumer. I mean, I don't suggest necessarily using that framework with small children, but you know what I mean, to see that one likes to make more stuff and then one is honestly more laid back and likes to observe and watch and be more of a consumer of media, of art, of music, etc. So this also overlaps a great deal with my podcast dynamic or my post dynamics. I did both. The wife who wants more and her annoyingly satisfied husband. I've written about that one in my book too, Couples You Meet in Counseling. It gets me the most clients. Always reach out from that dynamic because they say, I'm the wife who wants more and my husband is the annoyingly satisfied husband. And in that case, really the wife is a producer and the husband is a consumer. That's what I see very frequently. So she likes to write, she likes to journal, she likes to draw, she likes to and the big one is like buying rental properties or buying like a second home to redecorate. So many, and flip potentially or rent out or Airbnb. I see this like all the time. I mean, I have a certain clientele of like really high achieving people, so they like real estate. And so the woman is like, why don't we get another house? Why don't we get a beach house? And we could do this with it. We could do that with it. And then we could rent it out. And, blah, blah, blah. And the guy's like, why? Like, why would we do that? Like all our money is well invested. We're fine. Why don't we just, quote, enjoy our life? Why don't we relax and enjoy our life? Now, the producer does not know what that means. Like they like to do things. They may have ADHD, but they may not. They may not have ADHD at all, and they just really like to be productive. That's how they were raised. They were raised in a household where at least one parent was, quote, never sitting down and was always just getting shit done and making stuff. And, there were different opportunities for women in different generations, right? So, like, for example, my grandmother, she liked to sew. So she would sew and sew and sew and sew stuff. And then she'd sew stuff for my stuffed animals. And she was like, old by that point. She was like 80 years old and sewing stuff for my stuffed animals, like outfits and shit for them, and then making other stuffed animals. And that's a producer, and she didn't really like to watch TV, and it was very depressing for her in older age when her eyes got worse and she couldn't sew, she couldn't really create. So all she really did was read books, watch TV, like the large print books and the non-cable TV, because that's what she had. And that's kind of depressing, obviously, right? But for somebody else, they might have not been as depressed because they didn't necessarily want to be creating. So when she was younger, she was sewing and creating, and she was also baking and cooking and all of those things. Well, when you can't do those things anymore as you get older, then you get really depressed. But if most of your life you've really just liked to listen to music and watch TV, then you do that, and then you're better. You're better off, in that sense, because you didn't want to be doing other things. But that's kind of a tangent into how this goes with age, right? But what I'm mainly talking about is how people get along with a spouse that's different. And this is a really good conceptualization to bring up and, in your own therapy, when you're thinking, why am I so frustrated? My spouse is doing stuff that other people's spouses do and that most of the world does. Because really, the consumer is the one who is the irritant to the producer usually, and vice versa too. But that's when they get defensive. They're like, what do you want my ass to do something for? Why don't you ever just sit down? But they're not usually as annoyed as the producer is with the consumer. And so this is a way for you to think about it. Two producers do get along well usually, but sometimes they chafe against each other. They have different goals, and nobody's really wanting to stay home and just chill. And then if you have kids who like to just chill, then there's a problem. But also people do like to, children, even if they're producer type children, like to have kind of a parent who's just ambiently around. And that's really hard for producers. So you can, the consumer, that'll be fine reading a book on the couch. That is often the parent that the children gravitate to. Not saying that they can't like the other parent, of course, but I'm saying there is very much a role for somebody who is more chill to be more of the heart of the family. And I do see that quite a lot, especially when my male CEO, entrepreneur, producer type of clients get frustrated with their wife, who they feel like just sits around a lot. It's like, I'm like, well, who do the kids go to more? And they're like, the kids like me too. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but like, who do they go to more? Because she's literally sitting there. They could go over to her and talk to her without worrying that they're interrupting her. And they're like her, the mother, you know? So there's obviously benefits to both types of personalities. And hopefully this framework is interesting for you to think about what you are and how to reframe how you may be criticizing your spouse without even kind of consciously knowing it. All right, guys, thanks for listening, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Have a great day.